I stopped working night shifts after this. I used to work as a night nurse at a small assisted living facility tucked into the quiet edge of town. We only had 8 residents at any given time, all elderly and in need of light medical supervision. Most nights were peaceful. Refill medications, monitor vitals, help with the bathroom runs, that kind of thing. But the real reason I took the night shifts was the silence. I liked the stillness of 2 a.m. when the world fell asleep, when no one needed anything. Until one night, someone did. It started like any other Tuesday. I got in around 10:45 p.m., changed into my scrubs, and checked in with the day nurse. She looked tired and waved me off with the usual clipboard of notes. "Everyone's fine," she said. "Just keep an eye on Mr. Wallace. He's been more confused than usual." Mr. Wallace was 91, with early dementia and an old stroke scar that curled across the left side of his head like a claw. He barely talked, just nodded, mostly, or stared past you like he was watching something you couldn't see. 11:30 p.m., my first rounds. I peeked in on each room. All the residents were asleep. I noted their breathing, checked 4 levels, and made small adjustments to pillows and blankets. When I got to Mr. Wallace's room, he was awake. He was sitting up, rigidly, facing the wall. "You doing okay, Wallace?" I whispered. He didn't respond, just turned his head a few degrees, not toward me, but toward the open space at the foot of his bed. "He was here again," Mr. Wallace said suddenly. His voice rasped like something tearing. I paused. "Who was here?" He didn't answer, just kept staring. His bed sheets were damp with sweat. "Did someone come into your room?" I asked again, firmer. This time, he finally turned toward me. "He watches me sleep." I didn't know how to respond. Made a mental note to report the hallucination in the morning and gently guided him back down under the sheets. "Try to rest, okay?" But as I stood up to leave, he grabbed my wrist. Hard. His voice dropped to a whisper. "He wasn't looking at me tonight. He was standing by the door, staring at you." I tried to shake it off. I really did. But for the rest of the night, I kept glancing over my shoulder. Every hallway felt too long. Every time a light flickered, I flinched. At 2:15 a.m., I heard a sound. It was soft at first, like a dragging foot. I turned off the brake, room TV, and listened. It came again. A shuffle, then silence. I stepped into the hallway. It was empty, but the light outside the medication room was flickering. That was new. I started walking toward it, slowly, cautiously. And that's when I heard something that made my stomach twist. A knock. It came from room 3. Room 3 was empty. Mrs. Keene had passed away 3 days prior, and no one new had moved in yet. I stood frozen for a moment. Then another knock. Louder. I walked up to the door and put my ear to it. Nothing. I opened the door. Darkness. The motion sensor light didn't flick on. I waved my hand. Nothing. The light was out. I took a step. Inside, using the dim hallway light behind me to see. The bed was made. The chair was tucked in. But the closet door, it was open. Not all the way. Just a crack. I don't know why, but I stepped forward. Maybe I wanted to be sure. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself I wasn't losing. I put my hand on the closet knob and opened it. Empty. I let out a breath, turned around, and saw a shape move past the doorway in the hall. I sprinted out of the room. The hallway was silent again. Just the soft hum of old light fixtures. I tried to calm myself. Maybe it was my shadow. Maybe I was just tired. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was in the building with me. I went back to my desk and reviewed the security monitors. We only had 2. Cameras, one by the entrance, one in the back hallway. The front camera showed nothing. I flipped to the back hallway camera. For half a second, just half a second, I saw a figure. Pale, hunched, walking slowly past the camera. Then static. I blinked, rewound, played it. Nothing. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to call someone, but who? The police wouldn't take an old man's hallucination in a flickering camera seriously. My manager would think I'd fallen asleep and dreamed it. So I sat there, lights on, heart racing. At 3:37 a.m., I heard footsteps, nada, shuffle, full, clear footsteps down the main hallway. I stood up, clutching my penlight like it could protect me. I walked out and followed the sound. It stopped at Mr. Wallace's door. I opened it. Mr. Wallace was sitting up again, staring right at me. "Did you see him?" he whispered. I didn't answer. He pointed toward the dark corner of his room. "He's in here. He never leaves." I turned on the light. Nothing there. But Mr. Wallace's face, I'll never forget that expression. It wasn't fear. It was pity. I stayed in the room with him until sunrise. Neither of us slept. The day nurse came in at 7 a.m. I didn't tell her anything. I just handed off the clipboard, clocked out, and drove home in silence. That was my last night shift. They said Mr. Wallace passed away in his sleep 3 nights later, peacefully. But when they went through his belongings, they found something odd. A sketchbook. Dozens of pages filled with rough pencil drawings. Every single one was the same. A tall, thin figure with no face, standing in the corner of a hospital room, watching. There's a stretch of road I will never drive again, not even in daylight. This happened in late 2021. I used to work as a contract driver for a roadside assistance company. Basically, if someone was stranded, flat tire, dead battery, locked out, and they called their insurance provider, I was the guy they'd dispatch. It wasn't the best paying job, but it gave me flexibility. I liked driving, liked the late night shifts when the roads were quiet. Plus, I'm the type who doesn't mind being alone. Actually, I prefer it. But there's one call, one stretch of highway that made me rethink all of that. It was a Wednesday night, and I was covering the overnight shift for another driver. Around 1:45, a request came through on the app. A woman with a stalled car somewhere off a rural road just outside of Dunridge. Dunridge was one of those places that's not even a town, just a name on a map, a couple old barns, some farmland, and a 2-pump gas station that closes by. 8. The GPS coordinates were strange. It showed her location as a spot between roads, like she wasn't on a real street, but just floating in the woods. The app glitched sometimes, so I figured maybe she typed in the location manually and got it wrong. Either way, it was my job to go, so I went. I remember taking Route 7, then a smaller road called Carter Lane, then turning onto what can only be described as a gravel path. It didn't even have a name on Google Maps, just a thin gray line. My headlights were the only light for miles. No houses, no farms, just endless trees on either side. And the fog? The fog came out of nowhere. Thick, low, rolling in like it had purpose. I turned the defrost on high and slowed down to a crawl. I was starting to wonder if maybe this was a prank call or some kind of setup. And then I saw the car. A silver sedan parked on the side of the path, hazard lights blinking weakly. One headlight was out. The passenger side door was cracked open just a little, enough to notice. I pulled up slowly, put the truck in park, and stepped out. I had my reflective vest on and flashlight in hand, walking toward the car. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I got closer and peeked inside. The cabin light was on. Purse in the passenger seat. A scarf. Phone in the cup holder. But no, one was inside. I knocked on the roof and waited. Still nothing. I walked around to the back, checked the plates, noted the make and model, and radioed into dispatch. Client vehicle. Located minus 2015 Toyota Camry. Silver. No visible damage. Client not present. The dispatcher asked if I could check the surrounding area. Maybe she stepped off to get a signal or use the woods. I agreed, reluctantly. I took maybe 5 steps into the tree line when I noticed something odd. There were footprints in the damp soil, leading away from the car and into the woods. 2 sets, one barefoot, small, maybe a woman's, and the other wearing boots, much larger. They overlapped at some points, the boot prints always following close behind. I called out again. "Miss, are you?" "I'm here to help." My voice felt swallowed by the trees. I followed the prints a few steps, further, shining my flashlight carefully. I told myself I'd go 20 feet, maybe 30, and if I didn't see or hear anything, I'd call it. But right as I was about to turn around, I heard something. Not a voice, a whisper. At first I thought it was wind, but there wasn't any. The trees weren't swaying. The leaves were still. It sounded like humming. A tune, slow and low, coming from deeper in. Every part of me said leave, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the training. Maybe it was the fact that someone was clearly out there and might be in danger. I pushed forward another 10 feet. That's when I found the shoe. Just one, a slip-on flat, soaked and muddy, half buried in the earth. And next to it, drag marks, like someone had fallen and been pulled. I turned and ran. I didn't care what dispatch thought. I got back to the truck, locked the doors, and grabbed my phone to call the police. But the screen was frozen, still stuck on the GPS screen, spinning, buffering. No bars. I turned the engine on and slammed into reverse. Just then, my headlights caught something in the woods. A face, pale, watching, not moving. I don't know if it was a person or something else, but it didn't blink. It didn't react. It just watched. I backed up all the way down that gravel path, refusing to turn around. Once I hit Carter Lane, my signal returned. I called 911 and gave them the coordinates from the call log. Told them everything I saw, the empty car, the missing woman, the footprints. They took it seriously. Search team was sent out the next morning, but they didn't find her. Not in the woods. Not in the nearby town. No reports of a missing person matching her name or vehicle registration. When they ran the plate, they got something strange. The car had been reported stolen 2 weeks earlier from 3 states away. The name on the roadside assistance request didn't match the stolen car report either. It was fake. Everything had been faked. The call, the name, the reason for help. But the car was real, and the footprints were real. And the scarf, the phone, the shoe, all real. No one could explain how the request got logged through our app. There was no phone number on file, just GPS coordinates. My company ended up pulling me off night shifts for a while. They said it was for my well-being, but I know the real reason. They were afraid I'd seen something I shouldn't have. And maybe I did. I haven't gone back down that road since. I won't even drive in that county anymore. And if anyone asks me for roadside help in Gunridge, I just say I'm unavailable. Because whatever I saw that night, it was waiting for someone. And I think next, Time, it wanted someone to stay. The little boy wouldn't stop knocking, but there were no children on the property. Before I tell you what happened, I need to explain something. I used to be a live-in caretaker for elderly clients, the kind of job where you sleep in the house, do light cleaning, give medication, make meals, and stay on call at night in case anything happens. It was a rotating position, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and the agency I worked for placed me with clients all over the state. My last assignment was with a woman named Evelyn Harper, 91 years old, recently widowed, partially blind, but still incredibly sharp. The kind of woman who drank her morning tea from a porcelain cup, wore silk robes, and always insisted I call her Mrs. Harper, never Evelyn. She lived in this massive ivy-covered house at the top of a long gravel driveway in upstate Connecticut, a 3-story colonial that felt more like a museum than a home. Every room was filled with antique clocks, faded oil portraits, velvet armchairs, and books that hadn't been touched in decades. Her husband had been a judge, apparently. There were awards and plaques everywhere. The moment I arrived, I felt like I was being watched. Not by her, by the house itself. But I chalked it up to nerves. Big houses always unsettled me. Too many corners, too many hallways, too much silence. And this place was silent. Even the grandfather clock in the hall didn't tick. The agency told me it'd be an easy 2-week stay. Mrs. Harper mostly kept to herself. She just needed help with meals, medication, and a short walk in the morning. The night duties were simple. Lock all 5 exterior doors, check the stove, then sleep in the guest room on the 2nd floor next to hers. First few nights were uneventful, but on the 4th night, things changed. I had just turned off the bedside lamp and was trying to fall asleep when I heard it. Knock, knock. 3 soft knocks, very light, almost polite. I assumed it was Mrs. Harper. Maybe she needed something. Got up, opened my door, and saw nothing. The hallway was empty. Her door was closed. No movement, no light. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to hear any shuffling or breathing. Nothing. Just the hum of the old pipes and a faint creak in the floorboards. I went back inside and chalked it up to the house settling. But the next night, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, I checked faster, swung the door open. Still nothing. But this time, I saw something strange. A small shadow darting past the end of the hallway, child-sized. Just a flicker. I blinked, rubbed my eyes. There was nothing there. I knew Mrs. Harper had no kids living there. No visitors, no staff. I asked her the next morning, trying to sound casual. Did you hear anything strange last night? Maybe someone walking around? She turned toward me slowly, her clouded eyes narrowed. No one walks this house. But us. I tried to laugh it off, said maybe I was dreaming. She didn't smile, just sipped her tea and said, "Don't open your door at night. Not unless I call for you." I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't ask. That night, I locked every single door on the property again. Twice, I even wedged a chair under my bedroom handle. Still, the knocking came. This time, it wasn't on my door. It was on the window. I froze in bed, heart pounding. My room was on the 2nd floor. No porch roof, no ledge. A steep wall and then open air. No one could be out there. I stayed still. The knock came again. Louder, knock, knock, knock. 3 deliberate taps, right against the glass. I slowly turned, my head toward the window. I wish I hadn't. There, through the sheer white curtain, was the clear outline of a small handprint, just sitting there, as if pressed gently, like a child waiting to be let in. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stared, trying to convince myself it wasn't real. Then, the curtain fluttered, and the hand was gone. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I didn't ask Mrs. Harper anything. I didn't want to hear more cryptic warnings or polite silences. I just did my job, ate in the kitchen, and stayed out of her way. But later that day, while changing her bed sheets, I found something tucked between the mattress and the headboard. A child's drawing, done in crayon. Red, blue, black. It showed little boy standing outside a house. This house, the windows were blacked out. And in every window, eyes. Scribbled, watching eyes. The boy was smiling. In the bottom corner was a name, Tommy. I stared at it for a long time. That night, I stayed up, phone in hand, flashlight on the nightstand, waiting. 12 a.m., nothing. 1 May, nothing. At 1:43, I heard it. A whisper, faint, right outside the door. Let me in. I didn't move. Please, it's cold. It sounded like a child's voice. And then the knocks came. Not 3, but many. Quick, desperate. Knocks like little fists hammering the door. I stood up, trembling. I walked slowly toward the door, holding my phone like a weapon. And then I remembered Mrs. Harper's warning. Don't open your door at night. Not unless I call for you. So I didn't. The knocking stopped. But the voice, it whispered one last thing before going silent. She said you would help me. I didn't sleep. Just sat on the floor with my back against the door until the sun rose. I confronted Mrs. Harper the next morning. No more pretending. There's something in this house, I said. And it's not just in my head. She didn't act surprised. Instead, she slowly stood, walked over to the fireplace mantel, and picked up a small photo frame. It was old, the photo. Inside had faded badly. A family of 3. A man, a woman, and a small boy. That's my son. She said, Tommy, 1957. I stared at her. You had a son? She nodded. He died when he was 6, playing outside. Fell through the ice. His body was never found. I didn't know what to say. She kept staring at the photo. Sometimes, she said softly, he comes back. I left the house that day. I didn't wait for my 2 weeks to finish. I didn't even tell the agency why. I just packed my things and drove away, trying not to look in the rearview mirror. But here's the part that still haunts me. 3 months later, I got curious. I Googled the property, address, searched public records. I needed confirmation, something that proved I didn't imagine any of it. There was no record of a son named Tommy Harper. No death certificate. No obituary. No birth announcement. Nothing. But I did find something else. In 1964, 7 years after Tommy's supposed death, a young live-in nanny was reported missing from that address. Her body was never found either. I don't know it's real anymore. I only know that at night. Sometimes when I'm in bed, I think I hear soft knocking on the window. Just 3 gentle taps. Knock, knock, knock. And when I check, there's always a small handprint.